All right, guys and girls. Any other distinction? Do this. By the way, section 10.2. Extra credit. Do it or not. Up to you. Huh? Homework, yeah. And the only way it would show up on a test on the final is if it was a bonus question. Now, do this. Is everybody cool with what that says? That's a quick way to say equation. So find the equation of the line going through these 2 points. Feel like that's algebra. Well, yeah, algebra is every freaking where.
Sorry, man. Tell yourself.
I know. That's all right. Talk with people near you.
So you remember linear equations?
Let me help you guys out. Anybody tell me any general equation of a line?
y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1.
Now that tells you what? That's the slope.
Y equals mx plus b.
You got y equals mx plus b. You can only use this if you know what?
This is slope in the,
What was b? Guys, what was b?
Your y-intercept.
Yeah, where it crosses the y-axis, the y-intercept. Why does that make sense? Because when x is 0, y is frickin' b. Right, so of course that's the y-intercept. There's another equation line that actually comes from this guy. If I get it started. So this one you can use any point. You don't have to know the y-intercept. You can use any point, which thankfully, do you know the y-intercept over there? If you do, that's neat, because I didn't tell it to you. Y-intercept would have to look like what? Give me an example y-intercept point.
0, 5.
0, comma, any damn thing, right? Because if you're going to be on the y-axis, x has to be 0. The minute you go up or down, x, if it's anything not 0, that means you're off the y-axis. So that's why x has to be 0 to get the y-intercept. Did I give you the y-intercept? Did I?
Nope.
No, I didn't. No, sort of. If you know b, you can plug it there. Do you know b? No. So, how do I do this? What's a good first step? What do I need to use? What does this equation need? It needs the, and you know how to get that, so do it. What else does it need? It needs slope and it needs a point. Do you have a point? I do sometimes. You have 2 frickin' points. Pick either one. Alright, let's see you guys. At least get the slope. Algebra is useful beyond algebra class. This is the thing that most people don't believe. Did I just say you need to know algebra to live? Nope. I said it's useful all the damn time. The same way that knowing how to change your oil is useful. Do you have to know how to change your oil to live? Do you have to know how to change your oil to live? Really? You do? Sorry, Mariah. Somebody else, I forgot how that. No, I remember. Okay. That's kind of a weird condition.
My dad refuses to change it for me. He says that I'm a good adult.
You're what?
He change it for me. I asked him to change it, and he's like, "You're an adult. Change it yourself."
I love fathers. They're like common sense, and I'm like, what, I'm supposed to be born with this shit? No. But then you make a little money, go get somebody to change it for you. Huh?
I would take it somewhere.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I do too. I don't want to get this oil. Like, I gotta get rid of this oil now. And
It's fine until I need a jack. So I used to have a truck and I do it myself, but now I have like a little car.
yeah, that's the other thing is getting to it
Yeah.
safely. All right. So the slope here, how do I get that? It's going to be, okay, 12 minus -4. I like it. So if you do this to this, you got to do this to this. By the way, that's all the freaking subscripts mean is you just got to go the same direction or else you get the wrong sign. So if you do -4 minus 12, you better do 1 minus 5. That's all. Then you end up in the same exact number. Bless you. So that's 16 over 4, which is 4. Cool. It's amazing. So now we know M. Check. Which point do you want to use? 1 -4 should. Why not? Doesn't matter. If you use the other one, you'll come out with the same answer. Because how many points does a line go through? How many points does a line go through? Infinite number. An infinite number of points, right? So it doesn't matter which point you use, it shouldn't change the equation of that line. So I happen to know 2 of the infinite points. Let me pick one of them. Either one is going to work. So what would this look like? Y minus the y piece equals m times x minus the x piece.
We don't have y.
Say again?
I thought we had y and x. Wouldn't that just be y1?
So in this equation, only the things with subscripts are specific values of x and y. If it has no subscript, it's supposed to be every value of x and y. And of course, like we just said, how many values of x and y are there? Infinite number. Infinite number. So then, if you clean this up a little bit, this will be y plus 4 equals 4x minus 4. Subtract 4, you get 4x minus 8. Is that all right? I mean, that's just a couple of algebra steps. That's plus 4, right? Subtract 4, 4x minus 4 when you distribute, so then minus another 4 is minus 8. How do you check that? If I plug a 5 in, what should I get out? 12, right? So when I plug a 5 in, I get 20 minus 8 is 12. No? Are you guys all right? What happened? What's the matter? Tell me. Does this at least feel vaguely familiar? Now, which part did we have trouble with? It's okay. It's okay. Go ahead. It might be several years since you took algebra. Or it was last semester, but the teacher didn't make any sense and they passed everybody. I don't know. It's okay. How we doing? Everybody all right? No, you guys just don't want to talk to me.
It's all right, man.
Go ahead and try. All right, anyway. So, to be honest, we're not going to have to do this like an extensive amount. But you do have to kind of dredge up memories of what's going on. By the way, something that very few teachers talk about is, why the shit do we graph anything in the first place? Like if I wanted to graph that line, why would we graph it? How many answers are there to this line? It's a weird question. What would an answer look like? You could do it. What's an answer look like to this? How many parts would the answer have to this? Give me one answer. I'll give you an answer. 1 -4. Right? Because when I plug a 1 in, don't I get a -4 out?
0 -8.
Yeah, 0 -8. That's the y-intercept. Hey! So answers have 2 parts, of course, because how many unknowns are in this? 2. How many answers would this have? How many answers? 1. It's 1 variable. Right? Now, there could be the weird shit where you get 4 equals 7 and all kind of business. But basically, most of these are going to have 1 answer. These are going to have 2 answers most of the time, right? And but each let me say, maybe be careful. Each answer has 2 parts. How many total answers are there is the same thing as asking how many total points does this go through. How many points does this go through? Infinite amount, right? So if I ask you, tell me all the answers to this, I'm not going to start listing them off. Oh, holy shit. I'm going to graph the damn answers and say, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to, what's my y-intercept? -8, 2, 4, 6, 8. And then I can go up 4 over 1. Remember this? Up 4 over 1. And I graph it. And then I say, that's it. And I'm like, any answer you want, you go find it. That's so, we graph things. The most fundamental reason why we graph anything is it's the quickest answer to what are all the answers. Quickest way to show somebody what all the answers are. There. A list would take eternity, and I would still not be done. Eternity's over, I need more time. Yes? Yeah, I don't give a shit. Yes, you could. Calculator costs a lot of money. You should be able to make it do all this for you. I don't care. We have to be able to do this much on our own. Okay, maybe. Now, the reason this comes up now is we are getting into that section where we can make the calculator. I am going to do a lot on the calculator in this section. But a lot of it's going to also involve interpreting what you get. So you do have to remember some stuff about lines and what they mean, right? So this is the slope, right? I don't know if you guys were paying attention, but what does that tell you? Up 4 over 111. So every step in the x direction, y, it goes up by 4. Do you guys, is that cool? I like it. The theory as to why this is m, has anybody ever thought, why the shit is that m? The theory is it's related to the French word for walk. Nobody knows if that's true, because the French word for walk is marcher, like march. Yeah, but nobody knows if that's true or not. It just sounds neat. Okay. So, the very first section in chapter 12, we do 12 before 11, is all about a little review of lines. It's purely algebra. All right. So we're going to get into this idea of correlation, correlate. You can do it, Joe. There it is.
Is this 11 or 12?
Pretty sure this is 12.
Okay. Sorry, you said 12 was lines, and then I wasn't sure if you were going.
First section in 12 is just lines. Chapter 11, just to let you know, the reason I do this out of order is chapter 11 is yet another chart, yet another distribution. So I like to do 12 in between all, is just to give us a little breather from distributions and shit. So I don't care if you like that or not, it's just why I do it. Correlations, right? So let me make this shun. There it is. So obviously, a really obvious example of this would be the amount of time that goes by after a fish is born and how long that fish is. Let me say this again. The amount of time that goes by after a fish is born. So far, so good? And how long that fish is. Up to a certain point, of course. After a certain point, it's not going to grow anymore, or else it becomes the fish that ate New York or something. Right? Good old 50s B movie. Oh my God. All right. So when it's born, it's some length. Are you with me? And then I could take either with the same fish over amount of times, or I could take just different age fish. Don't ask me. I have my scientific methods to figure out how old a fish is. Just ask it, how old are you? 3 bubbles, 2 bubbles, whatever. So if I either look at the same fish or I look at several fish at the same time, just different ages, can't I plot age versus length? And what would you expect to happen? Let's say this is the longest they get ever, is there. You with me? So what would you expect to happen in between? Yeah, you expect it to. And it's not going to be a perfect straight line. Why not? Same thing with humans. Does anybody have little humans? Anybody have children? That's how you say that. That's how you say that phrase. Does anybody have children? No. Nobody has children? Does anybody know people with children? Yeah, like you're, you know. All right. And have you ever seen them take them to the hospital or for a checkup, and you see where they are in the range of heights and weights? Have you ever heard of that at all?
The BMI.
Oh, BMI for body weight, but for children as they grow, you've got these charts that look like this. And you could be like in the 99th percentile for height or weight, or down here, and this is like the this is like the average. So if you actually looked at it like this, it would look like a normal curve, but I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen that before. Maybe I should pull it up in a minute. The height and weight chart. It's really kind of neat. There's the expected amount, which is really the median. You guys with me? And then I can have a very small kid, or a very tall kid, or a very skinny kid, or a very fat kid, right? You just don't want to be out here necessarily, especially for the weight thing. I had a friend of mine called his kid Max, and he was up here. Like, you named that kid right. And it wasn't like he was tall or anything, just all of a sudden this kid's like, how old is that kid? A couple months. Holy shit. No. Anyway, sorry. I love that. His name was Max. I love that shit. Mike, you don't watch this. You guys semi good with that? I mean, that's an example in real life about I know what to expect. As a human goes, as they're born and they go from there, I expect there to be a bit of a range, right? Why? Because some people are going to grow up and be this tall, and some people are going to grow up and, be that tall. Yes? But there should be an expected height. There's a height that I kind of expect you to be close to. And that's what this kind of gets the idea of. There's the height I really expect, and this is like the max and the min values away from that. Oh shit, that sounds familiar. Middle, give or take. This is just over time. So here, can't I draw that line that represents the average? How would I draw it? Like if I drew a line like this, what would be wrong with that? Like if I drew this line, why is that not right? Why is that line not right? For the average of all the fish I saw. One quick answer is it doesn't run down the middle. But so how do you get a feel for what the middle is? Well, if you have a teacher like me who's going to give you a sheet where you have to draw your own line like I will, you might have to draw that line a couple times. So the first line you draw is in pencil, so you can erase that damn thing, because almost definitely your first line is going to be wrong. But you won't know until you draw it and you step back and you go, well, I made that one way too high. Maybe I'll try again like here. That looks a little better. It looks maybe a little bit low. Do you guys see that? So this is, of course, we're only going to do this a couple times with by hand. We're going to make the calculator get the exact right answer, because it's able to do that. It's able to see how far away the possible lines are and get the one that's the closest to all the points. You guys semi with me on that? Okay, I like it, maybe. So, remarkably, the official name for this thing is the line of best fit. Line of best fit. That's awesome. That's exactly what it should be called. Yeah, line of fit. Now, something like this, fish and how long they are after a certain amount of time, it makes sense that they should line up pretty strong. They should be a pretty tight lineup. You're going to have very few fish that are way out here, very few fish that are immediately long. It's like, God, I'm sorry, mama fish. That was not easy. Anyway, you guys kind of with me? But with other things that I don't know how they're related. So for example, the age at which you're potty trained versus how big of a sociopath you are later in life. Have you ever heard of, that's like the go-to thing for psychology student. You say, well, are you going to study how when I was potty trained and see how that affects? I mean, there's studies based on that. Have you guys heard of this at all? No? When you're potty trained versus how crazy you are later in life, right? Anyway, so there is a correlation. Is it a strong correlation, a weak correlation? That's the kind of things we're going to investigate. Maybe not the potty training. I'm going to ask you guys. Find out when you were potty trained.
Just because there's a correlation doesn't mean.
Beautiful. So the other thing is, for example, I go out to a basketball court, and I go to several. I go to a lot of basketball courts, and I watch them playing basketball. I'm like, wow, playing basketball makes you tall. Holy shit. Now, obviously, that's wrong, but that's very obvious. That's a situation that we know what happens. What normally happens, not every basketball player is tall, but the taller you are, the more chances there are for you to be, because other people tall. Because Jeff, I played a lot of basketball when I was younger, and then I got to my highest point. I'm like, all right, fadeaway jumper can only help so much, right? Because oh shit. But there are actual cases of people getting it wrong. What affects what? When I do this kind of study, I can see that there's a relationship between the two things. But I can't tell if one affects the other one or the other way around, or if they're both affected by something else. So here's a true statement. When teachers' salaries increase, the sale of booze go up. Let me let that sink in. That is true. That is true. Why does that not mean that all teachers are luscious? What does that really mean? If teachers' salaries went up,
All salaries went up.
then probably other salaries went up. Yes? And if everybody's salary kind of went, if a lot of people's salaries went up, then you can spend more money on things like booze instead of food, you know? Or in addition to, not instead of. Remember that, kids? Don't do it all liquid diet. How are we doing so far? So there is an idea of correlation which measures how strong the connection is between two variables. Just because two things are correlated doesn't mean anything about one of them affecting the other one, or vice versa. I have no idea. So this is kind of everything we do in this class. This is Stats 1, is a surface level kind of beginning analysis. If I saw a correlation between how far away somebody lived from a certain lake and how old they got, how long they lived, right? Like if they were really close to the distance from a lake. Distance from lake and longevity. And I saw this happening. Right? What does this tell me? That would be a surface level thing. Maybe this is just happening just randomly. But if I saw this, and look, there's that thing. So what's it seem to mean? The closer you are to the lake, if you're 0 away from the lake, you're living to be 120 or something. I mean, kind of a silly example, but do you guys see what I'm saying? But this is surface level. Is there something about the water in the lake? So the closer you live, you're drinking more of the water. Or is it that as you get older, you want to live closer to the lake? Do you guys see what I'm saying? Maybe it's the other way around from what we think. Maybe it's not the lake making people older. Maybe it's older people liking living next to the lake. For example, how are we doing? Maybe. So you remember when like 1 week they said eggs were good and the next week they said eggs were bad, basically? Anybody ever pay attention to that? Or 1 week they'll say, this food is great, eat more of it. And next week they're like, holy shit, stop eating this food. No? Wine is good, wine is bad. Who knows? A little bit of wine. No, more wine. No, less wine. You just got to wait and just go, I'm just going to drink. Well, so when they do studies and they say, how many eggs do you eat? And then they look at what their general health is.